Good morning, everybody. It is June 3rd, and I'm reading the journal for it last year, July 27th through 30th of 2024. I'm not going to read all of it because there's a bit of it, and I go through all of it with John in the session that you'll see that goes along with this. But I was just scanning over it to see what I'm inspired to talk about, and it's pretty much my part called Spirit. And this part, my first split, her name was Blue, her new name is Bonnie. Actually, I should let me share and pull up those images. I'm sorry, you guys, I never know what I'm gonna talk about. It's spontaneous, so you'll forgive me for not being ready. Ay, 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 ay. So SRA parts and my maps. And I don't really call them maps anymore. It started off as a map, but I turned it into what I call my life book. And here's a lot of my peeps. I've got almost 1,100 now. And this seemed the best way. And these are their new pictures and their new names. So my peeps say hello, Gavin. He takes care of my teeth every night, makes me brush my teeth and floss and do all that stuff that I never used to. So thank you, Gavin. Marty helps him. And just different parts. Not all my parts have purposes yet, but Gavin wants to be in charge of dental care, and Caroline likes to feed the birds. So all my little chores that I do throughout the day, different parts want to do those things. So here's my peeps. You go through a few more, and they love to think of themselves this way instead of the old way. Makes them very happy. My goodness. Here's my last set of parts that I've never really shown before. And I love this little design. It looked like a yearbook. It's what I called this at first. I thought, well, it's not just 1 year, it's my life book. So, but it's laid out like a yearbook. So I really enjoy this. And I had a group of parts that wanted red hair. So there they are. They got the red hair. I remember when I was doing the search for them, I said young women, and one time I picked Europe, and another time I said no, young women from Ireland. So that's where all my red-haired beauties came from, because I am part Irish. Um, and they're all beauties and handsome guys. Let's see. It's all my peeps. Could be here for a while. They just all want to say hello, hello, hello. That's six per page. I got 180 pages and I haven't quite, still got more parts coming, so they'll fill in. But what I wanted to show y'all, I guess I'll do a quick, here's Lake City where they live in my subconscious. I've made 1,565 rooms, just so enough to keep building this. So log cabins, because I've always wanted to live in log cabin homes. So there's homes that house up to 20 people. These house up to, I think, 10 people. These house up to five each. These house up, oh, these are tree houses. Some people, little ones wanted tree houses, so they live there with an adult, and some of my guys wanted to live outside in tents, so they do. And y'all have seen the kitchens and bathrooms and bedrooms and stuff. But here is Bonnie. I'd say now she's about 25 years old, but she was my first split. I was 3 weeks old. There was a blood baptism. I was being initiated into the cult, and she split several ways. First wave was Michael, who was furious, had righteous indignation, and was fighting like crazy. He's my warrior, one of my warriors, but he was the first warrior. I like to think that the Archangel Michael came and helped me, but it is a part within me, and his name is Michael. So this was his original picture, and this is his picture now. His new name is Malachi, and blue split into spirit, which was God helping me by sending the Archangel Michael, by just putting the fire in my belly. And this was the picture that Blue, our spirit, chose. And now this is her image. She's a female warrior for God. Um, and another split was my grandfather, original picture, midterm picture, his picture now. So he was a real rotten character, but now he's on God's team and he's very wise. Same thing with Greta, my grandmother, a horrible, horrible woman. Her next picture, mid-level, mid-term picture, and this is how she is now. She's my wise old lady. And I think these guys might choose pictures that are even younger. And then I split also into my dad because those are the three people there um, torturing me. So Michael, Spirit, Greta, Gerald, and David, five parts. But what I'm going to focus on today is Spirit. And I guess I'll just read the journals and go from there. So I'll stop share. And forgive me because I'm going to be skipping through and scanning and not really reading. I don't know if y'all recall, but a few journals ago, I read to John that I had found my front door open, and it really freaked me out. It was the next morning as I was, doing my rounds, and we have an outer security door that's like a metal screen door, if y'all know what those are, and then we've got the heavy door that closes. So I went to open the heavy door for air to come in, and I noticed, oh my goodness, my security door was not just open and unlocked, but it was all the way open. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I closed it. Chris didn't notice. And John was telling me in session, well, you guys need to get a security system and whatever, whatever. But I kept having this feeling, I don't know. I didn't really feel the need to tell Chris. I didn't feel the need to get security, and I didn't know why. And it was a few days later that this entry came out. So I keep thinking about that door being open and not wanting to tell Chris about it because I knew he'd be upset. And I've had this image flash through my mind quite a few times. It's of me standing naked in that open doorway, or perhaps just in my underwear, and I don't know why. If I did do that, why would I do that? To show them that I'm fully exposed and vulnerable somehow in their face? Technically, it would be facing south the way that I imagine a satellite would observe our house. It's the same location where that letter C was burned into the grass facing the southern satellite view. And I'll get into that right now. Years ago, I had grass in the front yard. I've since turned it to gravel. But I wanted to have a pretty lawn, and so I was, having my sprinklers run 3 times a day, and I'm trying to pamper it, and I had for years, and never was successful. And I thought, this is the year I'm going to kick butt and have a great lawn. Well, one day I went out there, and there was like a letter C etched into the very corner of my front yard. And it would be as you come off the sidewalk, I have a little pathway of stone to take you to the sidewalk that goes to the door. And it was right there in that little nook. It was like a stamp, the letter C. Years ago, it was probably 8 or 10 years ago that this happened. And at the time, I thought, oh my gosh, Is that because I'm transcribing for Alan Watt and they're categorizing me as a type of threat and I'm not an A level threat and I'm not a B level threat, but I must be a C level threat, you know? Because I'm connected to Alan Watt somehow and he's exposing all the evil in the world, etc. And that was my thinking at the time. And I could never get this C out of my lawn, no matter what I did. If I could till it up, put grass seed down, it was just forever etched in my lawn for years until, and it might even still be there. I don't even know what or how it created it. It just appeared one day, it stayed there forever. And I finally realized this lawn situation is just going to exhaust me for the rest of my life. And I got rid of it and put gravel on it. So I can't see the letter C there anymore. Hopefully it's not there. I don't think it was etched in there with chemicals or anything, but somehow, some way, this thing just appeared and wouldn't go away. So that's what I'm talking about. So back to the drone says, was that my way of somehow giving the satellite the middle finger? What a way to do it. It crossed my mind that when John told me that we should get security cameras, that I thought it wasn't necessary. It's not about the money or any of that, but just that I knew it wasn't necessary, that somehow I knew that I opened that door. So I'm asking myself, if I did do that, was it because I was given some sort of signal? I keep asking myself, was there somebody there? And I don't see anyone there, but I do see myself standing there. I waited for Chris to be snoring. I turned off the light. Then I had opened the door very quietly and stood in the alcove and took off my robe and just stood there. And this is just last summer. Was I hot or needed to cool off? And if that's the case, why would I do that? I don't think it was about being hot. I think it was about defying the powers that be, standing there completely naked and vulnerable. What part would do that? It would be very defiant. It would be very confrontational. It would be fearless. It crossed my mind that I was daring it. And so time goes on this night. And so I'm trying to figure out, a part had to have done that. I can see it in my mind's eye. And this is the point last year where I had had those experiences where Satan was jumping into my dreams, was standing outside this window. And so I was nervous, but I also knew I was covered. I had the Spirit of God within me, and I had the certainty that I couldn't be harmed. So I'm thinking about this part. What part would do that? It'd be defiant, confrontational, fearless, and daring. And all of a sudden it popped in my head. It was spirit, that part I just showed you. God wanted to express his defiance of evil and fearlessness through my part so I could know him that way. That's why I didn't want to tell Chris, because I knew I was perfectly safe. That's why I didn't think we needed security system, because I know I'm perfectly safe and protected. Wow. But when I prayed tonight, I did ask God if we could not do that display again, and Spirit agreed. So let me think. It was just so that's it for that journal entry. That was the 28th. And here is the journal entry for the 30th. So that night, it's fresh on my mind, and I'm like kind of blown away that my part would do that. God would inspire the part to do it. Now I remember it 2 weeks after the fact, whatever. So I'm writing that. It said, Spirit stood with the door open naked. There was a full moon. She raised her hands out in front of her and said, I defy any one of you to come near me. I defy any one of you to even touch me. The Lord God Almighty will strike you down. She stood there quietly waiting. Nothing approached. Nothing moved. Then she put her robe back on, came in the house, quietly closed the door, leaving the security door open for Diana to discover. She turned the outside light back on and came to bed and slept. This was to let Diana know she has nothing to fear from Lucifer or his minions, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And so those, I have goosebumps talking about this. Those were the entries for spirit. And I'm trying to remember, yes, by this time I had recalled memories of spirit. Let me get to those. In different memories, the Spirit of God coming and helping me. I think y'all remember. Let me see. Yikes, sorry. I'm gonna get to them again. Like I said, this is always spontaneous. It's never planned, so I don't have my stuff ready, all professional like, and so I do apologize. Okay, so oh shoot. Oh, and I guess I'll just share again, and I'll show you the PowerPoint because I've put them in her PowerPoint. So here's the journal entries where spirit, I'm just starting to understand spirit, and so here was one of my first journals from 6/29/24. I'm in my grandma is teaching me witchcraft, and this sketch came about. At first, I drew my grandma. She had on a dark black robe. I drew myself in yellow first, and I thought I was done. To realize, and I put it away, and my partner's like, "No, get up, you're not finished." And I also drew this. I had seen this image in my mind of my grandma with like what I thought was a black hat, but it was very bizarre. So I drew it, and then I drew myself, and she's teaching me witchcraft. And Graham saying, allow him in, you know. And Greta is the name of my grandma part. And so I drew this without the purple and without spirit here. And then I came to part, said, no, you're not done, go back. And she says, okay, now I want you to draw spirit, draw me, spirit. So I did, and I drew her yellow and purple. And she says, now I want you to cover yourself in purple. And I went all the way around myself to the bottom. She said, no, cover yourself entirely. So I filled the bottom part in. And then she says, well, this demon was starting to enter you. And spirit came down. And if you'll see her little hand right there, I should blow this up. Oh, shoot, darn it. Spirit's hand came down and covered me and stopped that demon from entering me. And she said, surround all you and me with purple. And her hand wound up right there before I drew this purple in. She said, now she said, no, make it really, really thick until it touches my hand. And I went, okay. And then I stepped back and looked at it to realize, wow, the Spirit of God or an angel or something came and covered me I think I was 4 or 5 years old here, so that my grandmother could not have a demon enter me, which she had tried many times before this. And that's it for that. Let me pull up the different times. And here's Flynn. He was forced to eat flesh, so to speak. So that was his old picture. But this is what he looks like now. That's how he thinks of himself. SRA MKU. What am I going for? I need my chart. So as I've had different experiences through my life where God or Spirit has covered me, I started to highlight them in yellow to stand out. So here's Spirit. I'm not even a month old. Time goes on, time goes on. 5 years old here, and my grandma's doing a ritual to have a spirit enter me again, and the Spirit of God, Jesus, came and said, "Nope, don't think so." Cancel. And then later, at 6 years old, the next year, God hid me from this. It was a black mass and an orgy, and I was being married to my quote unquote satanic husband who was 14 and I'm 6. But a demon came down and entered me, and God covered me and hid me and got me out of there. So here's another instance. Um, then again, it's much later. I'm about 20. I gotta get to it. Here again, another demon wanting to enter me, but the Spirit of God entered that place and blew out all the demons. They continued on with their ritual. And I was being again merged with or married to a demon. I was supposed to accept him in because prior I had been made to sign a contract back here. Two different parts signed a contract, a sex slave and a killer. But by the time we got here and they were intimidating me into a silence, the spirit of God came in and was overwatching. And by the time I was literally lifted up out of the air with Michael Aquino, we were literally levitating, and he was having a demon enter me because I'd signed these contracts. Well, Jesus came down and blew that off again and protected me. So, and that's it so far. So I guess the reason I've wanted to talk about this in particular in conjunction with the journal is because I don't know how many of you have gotten to the point where you can remember a full, complete memory in one of the most horrific circumstances possible, where you're being committed to Satan. Excuse me. And you don't yet remember that God came and protected you. When I first remembered that, first I saw it in my sketches. Then it came later when I didn't just remember pieces and parts of a memory, but remembered the entire thing to realize God saved me. I can't count how many times. And I am willing to wager that has happened to you guys as well, and you just don't remember it yet. So I want to encourage you all to be compelled to do your part work, be compelled to organize it, be compelled to put it in a timeline that's chronological, even if you don't get it right and you have to do it intuitively and you're guessing. Put it in there anyway. Later on, you'll figure it out. Oh, I wasn't 4, I was 6. Oh, I wasn't 12, I was 10. And you can fix it and change it as you go along. Um, you've got to put the time in to get to these wonderful memories. I remember Emma interviewed someone once, and the woman said she was in this ritual and she was up on an altar, and she said she literally had demons bowing to her. Demons were bowing to her, that they were trying to pump up her ego and let her see that she was this great, grand, glorious witch. And look, even demons bow to you. She said when she got through her full memory, she realized they weren't bowing to her. Jesus was standing behind her, and they were bowing to him. So I know of that one woman. I know of me. I am willing to wager every one of us has had moments of being saved physically, in real time, with him physically present with us. And if that's not the case, like in my situation with Rocky, Jesus wasn't with me physically present. Well, I guess he was, but He gave me a window of opportunity to sneak away from the orgy. He let me see the rock and the bush that I could hide on. And as I was hiding there and people were walking by and around me for 10 or 12 hours that night, God covered me. He shrouded me. As long as I did what he said, don't move, don't breathe, don't go to move to go to pee your pants, do whatever you got to do, just stay here and be quiet. And I did it. I was obedient to him, and he covered me. He protected me. To get to that kind of memory for me, I got goosebumps just talking about it right now. It First of all, it's overwhelming to think, my goodness, God did that for me? Me? Who am I? I'm one of his children. And secondly, that um just his power, just his presence alone is mind-blowing. I'm levitating in the air with Michael Aquino, and he's having me, because I signed contracts saying I give my soul to the devil. And Jesus came down. We stopped levitating. Every single demon in that room disappeared. And to know that, to have the memory of that, or when I was 6 years old in the other ritual where my grandmother was trying to blow a demon into me, that breath ceremony. I don't know if you've ever heard, y'all heard of that, but the ancient Egyptians used to do it where they would move a spirit from one body to another. So my grandmother was blowing her demon into me, and Jesus came, entered my body, and blew it back out. Except when he blew it, my physical body needed to vomit, so we projectile vomited into her face. And my grandmother said, "Who dare defy me?" She thought it was another demon. And Jesus said, I forget exactly what it was. I wrote it down somewhere, but he says, I am Jesus or something like that. This child is mine. And when he made his presence known, every last witch in that room scattered. They were terrified. They hid. And for me, it was mind-blowing to remember that, to think just his mere is presence, his voice, just his any little portion of him present, he has complete, utter, and total power over demons. And to have those memories and the literal life experience, it's we are witnesses to the power of God. Yes, we are witnesses to evil as well, more evil, I think, than God, but how much God do you need? Every single day. But because we become amnesic to those traumas, the memories of Jesus saving us also become submerged, and we're amnesic to that. And my whole life, until I started doing this work, I was never sure if Jesus was spirit and man, supernatural. I always believed, yes, he's a man, he existed, he walked the earth, there's history, records of it, whatever. And I'd never read the Bible, but I heard he did miracles and whatever. But because of my programming, I couldn't allow myself to accept Jesus as a supernatural being. It wasn't until I wanted to get baptized and I said to myself, well, and this is before I remembered my SRA. I said to myself, well, I need to believe that this man is supernatural, born of a virgin, the whole deal. It resurrected. And so I read a couple of books, and right here, actually, um, I read a couple of books that uh, convinced me. And these three books by Elaine Pagel's Beyond Belief, It says, renowned religion scholar Elaine Pagels continues her groundbreaking examination of the earliest Christian texts, arguing for an ongoing assessment of faith and a questioning of religious orthodoxy. Spurred on by personal tragedy and new scholarship from an international group of researchers, Pagels returns to her investigation of the secret Gospel of Thomas and breathes new life into writings once thought heretical. As she arrives at an ever deeper conviction in her own faith, Pagels reveals how faith allows for a diversity of interpretations and that the rogue voices of Christianity encourage and sustain the quote, the recognition of the light within us all, close quote. Um, and and this gave me, she talks about how the culture changed, how people changed on a dime when Jesus was walking the earth. And after he died and was walking the earth, here's another one. How on Earth Did Jesus Become a God? By Larry Hurtado, another biblical scholar. Larry Hurtado investigates the intense devotion to Jesus that emerged with surprising speed after his death. Reverence for Jesus among early Christians, notes Hurtado, include both grand claims about Jesus' significance and a pattern of devotional practices that effectively treated him as divine. This book argues that whatever one makes of such devotion to Jesus, the subject deserves serious historical consideration. Mapping out the lively current debate about Jesus, Hurtado explains the evidence, issues, and positions at stake. He goes on to treat the opposition to and severe cost of worshiping Jesus, the history of incorporating such devotion into Jewish monotheism, and the role of religious experience in Christianity's development out of Judaism. The follow up to Hurtado's award winning Lord Jesus Christ, this book provides compelling answers to queries about the development of the church's belief in the divinity of Jesus. This helped me immensely. And then another one by the same author, Larry Hurtado, at the origins of Christian worship. Let y'all see that. This volume makes a valuable contribution to the debate about the origins and development of Christianity. Hurtado argues that understanding the nature of Christianity in the first century requires taking a full account of the first Christians' devotional practices because worship was in the context in which Christological titles and other expressions of faith were given their specific meaning, a fact that has largely been ignored. Hurtado focuses on two distinguishing characteristics of earliest Christian worship: its exclusivity, rejecting the worship of other deities, and its binatarian shape, the veneration of Christ alongside God the Father. Setting early Christianity within the religious environment of the Roman era, Hurtado describes the features of Christianity that attracted followers and led them to renounce other religions. He then turns his attention to a more detailed discussion of the place of Christ in the monotheistic worship of the earliest Christians, showing that Christ figured in their public and corporate devotional life at a surprisingly early stage. The book concludes with some reflections for historical worship today based on the historical features of the early Christian devotional practices. Clear, illuminating, and relevant to the modern church, this volume will be of interest to scholars, pastors, students, and general readers seeking insights into the origins of the Christian faith and practice. And honestly, I didn't know I was going to go here today, but when before I remembered my SRA, I had this compulsion to be baptized. And I thought I've got to believe. And I knew I had tried to read the Bible and I couldn't get through it. But these three books, when I got done reading them, I can't put my finger on what it was, but I had what I needed. I believed. These people, thousands of them, don't just switch their religion and change every single custom they have for nothing. They saw something, they felt something, they experienced something. And that really hit me. And so I asked my husband to baptize me, and he did. And then my memories turned on about 6 months later. And during the memory process, now I remember getting miracles. The very thing I was reading about in these books. So I guess I just want to encourage you all, dig in there, dive in there, face the ugly. I know you're already facing it, but get knee deep. Compel yourself, do as much work as possible as you can to tease things up. I mean, I've got so many different videos showing you how to use the charts and graphs. You can create your own system. You don't have to use mine. But it's so important to get it out of your head and into the physical world so that you can look at it analytically, so that you could it's like a closet, a cluttered up hoarder's nightmare closet in your head, and you've got to open that door and pull out every piece of trash and every piece of everything. It's cleaning out your garage, your closet, whatever. You've got to take all of it out and lay it out and organize it so you can see it from start to finish, or even just a single memory, start to finish, to realize that there were miracles given to you as well. We didn't get put through the crucible of fire of satanic ritual for nothing. We are witnesses for God on this earth. We are witnesses to the supernatural. We are witnesses to evil and demons and how they do it in all their practices and where they do it in tunnels and all their rituals. We are a witness to evil, but we are also a witness to God. God coming and helping and saving us. We SRA survivors are the witnesses that the rest of the world can't possibly understand. We are those people that were transformed. We were put through this crucible. I mean, for me personally, I've told Jon in my sessions, I said, I feel like before I was born, God said to me, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yeah, sign me up. So I was born into that body, to my family, to go through those experiences. Why would I choose that? Why would God want to put anybody in there? To survive it and be a witness, because the rest of the world doesn't know. And they're going to think we're crazy, and they're going to think we're nuts, and you all know that. And we're all, whatever. But we are witnesses. And I just have this sense that the time is coming when our experience, we as witnesses, are going to be able to help people understand what's going on, be it the end times or whatever. But why are all these SRA people? Why is everybody remembering now? Why is there more and more and more? And every age group from 15 years old to 90 years old, we're all waking up at the same time in the same decade or 2 decades. There's a plan. Do I know what that is? No, but I know that we are witnesses for the rest of the world. And maybe this has to do with the P. Diddy trials going on, the Epstein thing went, unspoken, all that, but there seems to be a role happening. Things are moving, things are getting exposed. Now, whether P. Diddy goes to jail or not, or he winds up like Epstein and it just winds up in a black hole, it doesn't matter. There's all of us. There's all of us. And I know it's terrifying to think about, maybe we'll go watch a march on Washington, but we are witnesses. And so get in there, get the work done, discover God's power. You may already know it. I don't know, but we need to remember to reclaim our power and be witnesses to the world, for to warn them continually over and over and over. The more of this there are, the less it's indisputable. It's not just these 15 or 20 or 300 people with P. Diddy and 300 people with Epstein. We are millions, and we can create a ripple in this world and turn the tide. Am I saying that we're going to save the world and change it or whatever? I don't know. End times is real. The Bible's real. But we have a purpose. God has a purpose for each one of us. That's why we went through that crucible, because we had the ability to split. We had the ability to survive it and get to hear and open our mouths and talk about it. So, like I said, wow, I really had no idea I was going here. But I ask God every day when I turn my computer on for Him to speak through me, to inspire me to be forever present. And these journal entries just kind of got me on a roll. So, and if you are questioning, is Jesus real or not? Check out these books. They helped me. Up until that point, I was in the New Age, I was in Scientology, I was, I had always believed in God, but just this whole Jesus idea and the Trinity, and I just couldn't go there because of my programming. But once I got my memories back and started working on it, I got this I know without question now, my certainty for Jesus is unshakable. And for a demon to come face me down or face my husband down or a friend, I know exactly what to do. I can walk up to them right in their face. It's in the name of Jesus. Go to hell. You know what I mean? Like the song says at the beginning of my videos, out on the streets is where we'll meet. Because they ain't coming in my house. Anyway, I guess that's it for today. Thanks for listening. I love all of you. Dear Lord, dear Jesus, I ask that you surround me and everyone watching this video and all the SRA survivors out there. Surround us with impenetrable shields of your love, with your holy angels standing guard. Please surround us, our godly loved ones, our homes, our pets, our properties, our electronics, our datas, our vehicles, travels, workplaces, and destinations. Surround us with impenetrable shields of your love, with your holy angels standing guard. Please send your warrior angels in times of spiritual warfare. Father, I ask you to bind from us, our godly loved ones, our homes, our pets, our properties, our electronics and data, our vehicles, travels, workplaces, and destinations. Bind from all these things and from us the powers, principalities, spiritual wickedness, and dark forces in all places on all planes of existence. Block astral projection to us and the things that we interact with. And Father, I ask that you increase our ability to see you, increase our ability to hear you, increase our ability to feel you. Come, just have us cling to you with just incredible devotion, to give us the courage and a voice to speak your word. Father, I ask if you could increase our knowledge, increase our understanding, increase our wisdom, increase our discernment. And Father, please, for all of us remembering and going and remembering this trauma, please comfort us, give us strength, buffer the emotions so that we're not traumatized again. And show us your love. You have so much love for us that you came and saved us. And that's why we're here today. Father, compel every SRA person out there, dedicate them to the work, dedicate them to sorting out and cleaning out their closet and looking at it and scrutinizing it. Compel us all to find you in all that wickedness and show us how powerful you are. And lastly, Father, I thank you for your gift of your Son, the sacrifice of your Son, that we may have the opportunity to come back home to you. The love that it takes to do that for us is immense. Thank you, Jesus. In Jesus' name, amen. So, anyhow, I will let y'all go. You have a fantastic day. Thanks for coming with me on my journey, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Round and round, what comes